direction that may be right.
But there's still something about Oceanic teams going internationally and not playing aggressive supports, as Karma has been locked in for the Direwolves, and King will get another game on Ezreal.
Yeah, still going towards this Ezreal. Not going to be the champion of choice that outright wins lanes, but with Ashe and Varus taken off the board, doesn't want to be Lucian, it looks like, has decided that Ezreal is now what he's going to default to. And granted, this is definitely a comfort pick for King. He doesn't want to play Jhin, too risky perhaps into the team composition against him for the 2v2. Ezreal will suffice as Karma provides him with wave clear.
And the final pick for Rampage is going to be Lee Sin, heading into the jungle for Tussle.
He's acknowledged that there's going to be an Ivern, wants to perhaps be the kill route opposed to the farm route. If Lee Sin ever finds Ivern, we'll be able to dismantle the tree, completely chop him down. So we'll have to see how the jungle pathing goes again. Super important for both of these guys.
So we have top lane bans so far coming out from Rampage, as Fizz has been taken away for Chippies, who had a decent game on the champion and has had many fantastic games on Fizz in the OPL.
Still going for his winning lanes, trying to beat his opponents. However, being on the blue side means that they can't counterpick. And if Rampage choose, Evie will be able to be the one getting the counter. So the Fizz ban is good. I wouldn't expect an Olaf ban, but you know, another carry taken off.
But instead, Echo is banned out by Rampage, targeting towards Fantix. Chippies has been known to play at top lane as well, whereas Talia is the ban of choice for the Direwolves.
Yeah, taking it away from Ramune. Not a bad decision. Again, able to split push, can do decently well. Fantix excels at split pushes. However, recently has been defaulting to more of the team fight route, as Zir, Vladimir, the two champions we've seen from him so far. And by banning Talia and Cassiopeia, leaves that up.
Exactly that. Cassiopeia being banned out. We've seen this again towards Ramune. A couple of cast bans being thrown out towards the Japanese team here. Syndra is going to be locked in for Rampage. One of Fantix's pocket picks taken away now.
Yeah, well, believe it or not, Fantix has counters to it.
He does, and Talon's been picked up. Another one of the Direwolves pocket picks, with Chippies picking up the Gragas heading to the top lane.
Yeah, so they go towards the Talon in mid lane. Fantix, good assassin player. This is the 1-3-1, the potential of split pushing that now comes through with this team, and where they may look more at home. This is definitely what I would call defaulting to comfort for the Direwolves, but they're against a very strong standard team composition out of Rampage right now, especially if they lock in a Shen. They've just got 5 beastly champs.
And that's what they've locked in. They've protected Yatori once before. Didn't quite work out. Now it looks like they're going to try and see if they can do that one again. As Shen locked in for Evie in the top lane, going up against the Gragas. Both teams getting very comfortable team comps with one another. But again, Direwolves bottom lane, Ezreal and Karma up against the Caitlyn Lulu. It's going to be interesting to watch.
It definitely is. And not going to be able to survive through a Syndra burst unless he goes towards a Hex Drinker, so he is reliant on the Karma to shield him, he is reliant on the Ivern to shield him. But this is more of a LPL comp, to be perfectly honest with you, because they've got an assassin in the mid lane instead of protecting an AD carry, which is what you're seeing more so from Rampage. Mid-range, you know, the Ivern being taken away from them, super crucial, so it's good that Direwolves have it, but they sit back just a little bit out of your reach. They'll poke down your structures if you come at them. Easy team fights to be secured. If Syndra hits a stun, Lee Sin hits the Q on that target, you're 100% going to get locked in and die. Direwolves have to show up individually to try and outplay the team they're against.
They certainly had, and as Venius has said on the analyst desk, Rampage just need to keep doing what they have been doing, because so far, even against the likes of the Red Canids, against Supermassive, they have looked good so far, and they're going up against a weakened wolf pack of the Direwolves, who have not performed at all in this tournament.
Backs against the wall, though. The Wolves will definitely turn around and try and bite at their opponents, but Rampage, you would expect 0-2. Surprising to see that scoreline with the way they've played so far. You would still give the slight edge to them. Just individually, how they've been playing has been exceptional. Tussle has been a monster running around, even on this Lee Sin. Destroying a 5-0 Elise to come back into a game says a lot.
I mean, we've got Tussle, you've got Yatori as well to watch out for. Dara's been playing fantastic. Evie on top of that. Rampage have been looking good, and they're about to take to the Rift for their final game today against the Direwolves, but also playing their last match here in the first day of Group A.
Yeah, super important once again to get this victory as we hop onto the Rift. Remember, both 0-2. If you go 0-3, becomes unlikely as they've found Tussle.
Tussle's been locked down. He's going to be forced to flash away as Chippy flies on in thanks to the root from Schönfire. an early flash being burnt onto the jungler.
And Shunfire throws it out, not really expecting anybody to be there. Perhaps if he had waited for the team, there was a real possibility that the kill was going to be there. Chippy's barely making it in following the Ivern Q, but early signs of life at the very least, forcing a flash out of the Lee Sin. Shunfire now has an opportunity to be a little bit more aggressive.
It certainly does. We'll have to see what jungle path he decides to take on Ivan. He's had some interesting jungle pathing on the champion in the OPL. In fact, very interesting jungle pathing on any champion he's played so far. Whereas Tussle, much more of a stock standard jungler, would like to get up in the face of Shunfire, but without flash, it might come back to bite him if anything goes astray, so to speak.
But for what it's worth, this early into the game, Gragas should have the push, and so Shunfire utilizes his top laner to get into the jungle. He will have the safe ability to actually set himself up, or set Shunfire up to take out some camps, or keep Tussle a little bit further down. But Ramune should have the push in this mid lane. Fantix has gone for the Ignite, has the kill route, doesn't have teleport, split pushing a little bit harder to execute on, but it means he has a bit more kill threat. Ignite's actually quite good into the barrier of his opponent.
We saw Tussle, as you mentioned, starting on the Raptor camp here today with a good leash coming out from both Evie as well as Ramune. This Shunfire sneaks in towards his jungle, takes away the blue buff, puts down the mark on towards Gromp as well. I believe he walked over a wall and he's actually being pinged out on top of that. So
All but
know
expected.
that he's been in there.
Like, if you see an Ivern on a team, you're a Lee Sin and you've been spotted starting Raptors, naturally, you're going to have your blue taken away from you. So that's where you actually look towards Direwolves. They placed a ward in the river. They've spotted the Lee Sin now going towards the blue buff of their own, respectively, as that is a low health Caitlyn.
Yeah, Yutori's been chunked out in this bottom lane. Still level 1 at the moment. Will hit 2 as this minion dies underneath the turret. But King of Destiny already showing some signs of life in that bottom lane.
That. They've actually been aggressive in this 2v2. Chippy's also wanting to prevent Tussle from getting the Gromp down. He's hunting.
Yeah, goes for the blue buff instead, sees that that's already been taken away, stops him from taking Gromp, and Tussle will just use Blast Cone, I believe, to get out of this one.
Might just go back to the Gromp once Chippy shows himself again. He's also got the Wolves to take. Remember, if he runs away from that part of the jungle, he's only got the Scuttle Crab and his own Krugs left to take. It's much more efficient to stick to the Gromp, go to the Wolves if possible, before going back to base. Get that extra bit of experience. Yep. It just means that Chippy's wasted a bit of time.
So we do see him do exactly that now, moving on towards the Wolf camp. Chippy's trying to do what he can, didn't get too much out of it. Fantix in this mid lane still being very aggressive against the Syndra. As you do check in with some of the Keystone Masters here, Soulmaker Surge picked up on Talon, as well as we see now Thunderlords picked up by Karma, as well as Lulu. Last game we had both players picking up the Windspeaker's Blessing.
Yeah, slightly more aggressive route this time around, as laning phase started off a little bit better this time around for the Direwolves. Need to see if they can hold on.
Yutori did start with his longsword as well as 3 health potions, so they did just fine, but Fantix now being jumped on. Tussle throws out the Q, connects, the parkour over the wall, flashes back into the Lee Sin, and first blood is picked up by Tussle.
Tragedy, honestly, for Fantix in the middle lane. Uses the flash, still gets hit by the Lee Sin Q either way. Good stun out of Ramune on the Syndra. Has enough mana back. He was completely out, so reserves, only auto-attacking to last hit, gets enough to lock him down. Good start for Rampage through their mid-jungle duo as we get to see this one more time. So by stunning him, Q hits and follows, but the flash was actually expecting Lee Sin to come over the wall with him. He didn't.
And the Q did connect before he got over the wall there. So Fantix not only gives over a kill to Tussle, but on top of that loses his flash in the mid lane against a Syndra. Chippy's taking a beating top side of the map, forced to body slam his way away as Evie is going to try and freeze up the lane on the top side of the map as well.
Yeah, just forcing an earlier recall out of Chippy as Evie will do the exact same. He may choose to teleport into the lane. You would expect Chippy to, more so than Evie.
On top of that, Shen is level 4, so if he teleports in now, his Sten United will be back up shortly before Chippy's teleport gets complete.
Yeah, really good window of opportunity for the LJL side once they hit level 6. To start making these big plays, you would once again expect around the middle lane. They've got a 0-1 Talon, not going to have a Hexdrinker this early into the game. And so if Lee Sin and Shen show up, diving, not a problem.
Well, mid lane Fantix taking some damage from the Syndra. He has gone back to base and picked up 2 longswords for himself. Yutori still being harassed in the bottom lane, still has a single health potion for himself in case he gets into a bit of trouble against King of Destiny, who now are finally pushing in against their opponents.
Shunfire still aggressively invading towards the bottom side of the map. always working around his winning 2v2 right now, which is King and Destiny. Will find himself a tussle in a second if he's not careful.
Dara spots him out. Gonna try and slow down. Schönfire just hits the plant, snares him up, and now the rest of the team trying to collapse. Tussle wanted to connect the resonating strike, does not. Schönfire is able to get away scot-free. He did mark the Gromp camp, but seems like he's trying to go back in to pick up the mark itself.
And the other thing they've done is set up for the second blue buff spawn. Taking it away from Ramune is a big win for the Direwolves side. You can see a control ward just above that, so even if they give it to Syndra, they'll know exactly when that occurs. So just a bit of awareness, a bit of forethought on the Direwolves roster. Doesn't mean they could stop the Lee Sin from doing any of these plays.
Tussle's still able to take away the Raptor camp, despite the fact it's been marked by Schönfire. It's a good counter jungle lead coming out from him. We expected him to get up in the face of Schönfire, and he has successfully done so. Even hits level 6 first here on Summoner's Rift.
Always excelling, honestly, at just the farming game here, Tussle. Gets the ganks off, is 1-0, but always has a CS. Yes, it's inflated, but he's actually bottom right now.
Behind King, kicks him back, but Arcane Shift will get King back to safety. Trying his best. Now Ramune looking to see if he can rotate down towards the bottom side of the map, but there is a ward there to spot him out. King now taking some damage from Dara.
He's not going to get a lot of help from the rest of his team, though, so there's no real purpose in having the Syndra come down here. Everything calms down.
Does, however, give Yutori some time to go back to base, as Fantix is going to take quite a bit of damage in this mid lane. Goes back aggressively towards Ramune, uses the Ignite. Barrier is ticking as well. Fantix forced to parkour away over his own turret, as Tussle shows up to make sure the Syndra stays safe.
But that is the barrier and ultimate used by Syndra. Fantix is staying in this lane as long as he knows where Lee Sin is. Talon wins that trade. Syndra has to go back to base, and the second blue buff has just spawned. So opportunities arise for the Direwolves roster. If they choose to take them, it just is there.
Again, Destiny now trying to lock down Dara. True Shot Barrage comes out. Dara is low, forced to flash away. Gets a heal from Yutori as well. Tussle, meanwhile, looking to collapse onto Fantix in the mid lane, who jumps over a wall and gets back to safety.
It's just so hard to gank a Talon. They made it work once, but twice, not as likely. Schönfire finally showing up in a lane as well, looking to actually influence mid. Help Fantix push the wave, help him perhaps reset, or the blue that we mentioned before if they want to rotate. Capitalize on the fact that Ramune is stuck in lane with no help.
Both AD carries in this one lane sitting on their starting items. No health potions available for either, or either support, in fact. But Destiny did go back to base, picked up a side stone for himself. Chippy's in some trouble top side of the map as Evie gets a good trade.
You know who hasn't gone back to base though, Fish, is King on his Ezreal. Hasn't gone for the tier just yet. We're at 8 minutes. They're farming extremely well, both AD carries. Close to the clock respectively. But stacking that tier is now going to take an awful lot of time.
Fantix is going to continue shoving out the mid lane as well. He will head back to base shortly, wants to pick up his Hex Drinker nice and early against Syndra. But Tussle, he's been a man on a mission here, which is to spot out Schönfire and take away as many jungle camps as possible. 30 CS up ahead of Schönfire.
Yeah, still farming well again. A little bit inflated when you consider Gromps, but has been invading a fair bit. Tussle has been performing well. The experience advantage speaks towards the camp advantage that he does have, and that's the most important lead that the Lee Sin's picked up for himself. 7-6. Schönfire not far behind. Tussle's ahead.
He's going to be able to mark up his ball carrier. You can see donate a red buff over towards Talon. Going to try and use that to his advantage in the mid lane. Spots out Lee Sin as well. Cancel his back as he will head back to base eventually. Wants to pick up the upgrade of the Warrior's enchantment.
A good opportunity once he has that completed. Again, we haven't seen the Shen ultimate actually come out just yet. Chippy still should have lane pressure. There's no Tiamat to be rushed by a Shen, and Gragas has push. So he should still be able to keep tabs on where the Shen goes. But the teleport window was there where there was a slight edge towards the Rampage roster. They didn't use it. And now teleports back for Chippies.
As King, he's already gone back to base, picked up his tier, as well as the Bilgewater Cutlass, looking towards an early Blade of the Ruined King on Ezreal. Schönfire being collapsed upon by Syndra. Running as fast as you can down into the bottom lane.
Ivan's walk is fantastic.
It is. Blue buff being donated over towards Syndra as well as he finds Fantix. Doesn't get too much damage out of Schönfire, looking to lock him down. Tries to predict his movements. But Fantix scares him away.
Zones a cannon off as well. So a small victory for those mid laners out there that deny cannon minions away. The best kind of victory, honestly, for him, whereas Schönfire was looking for a kill.
And Tussle still trying to be as aggressive as possible as he moves once again in towards the red side of the Direwolves jungle. Gets spotted out by Ward as he takes a blast cone over the wall.
Yeah. There's another one actually on the tri-bush, so they know exactly where he's going to be if the Lee Sin is here. And now they get to react accordingly. Shernfire is looking mid. They're trying to clear the wave to prevent a dive from happening.
Remember, Evie does have Stan United. Both top laners have teleport available. As Tussle going in deep, Destiny takes quite a bit of damage as the ultimate as well. Ace in the hole from Yutori. Gonna chunk down Destiny and King, both down to half health. Sidesteps another Q. They're both looking to try and go for a dive, and Shernfire slowly trying to collapse into the bottom lane. Rampage just gets some positional advantage.
Yeah, but Shernfire is finally here again. Boots of mobility able to help him out. Evie also going back towards the top lane, so no indication that they're teleporting onto a minion to dive bottom lane. A little bit too risky against Shernfire when he's level 7, has Windspeaker's Blessing on his shield maxing Ivern, and has Daisy to start slapping some people around.
Tussle's going to use that small advantage that Rampage were able to pick up to take down a Cloud Dragon for Rampage.
Yeah, still looking good. Honestly, the LJL side, much more cool, calm, and collected from both of these teams. It isn't as hard and heavy as we're used to seeing.
Yutori being very aggressive here. Runs through the minions, gets stand up. Here comes Daisy. He wants to go in for a little bit of a fight. Forces the wild growth out of Dara to keep him alive.
And you'd be happy with that, especially as Shernfire just hitting the Q, throwing out his giant cupcake, forcing a Lulu ultimate. Still a big win, means the risk of diving's there, or it means the Tussle, who we're now seeing at the Raptors, may have to come back towards bottom if they don't know where Shernfire is.
And so Tussle's just going to continue to take away more camps for himself, denying CS from Shernfire. Still a level ahead and about 700 gold up over Shernfire.
And for those wondering, it's because he's consistently taking Raptors as his #1 priority camp as to why his CS lead is always going to be so substantial. But back again bottom.
Here comes Shen. Tussle's trying to get it back lines, kicks back Destiny, easy pickup. King gets taunted as well through the True Shot barrage. Chippies has teleported down with Shernfire. Flash away, gets them out of the ultimate from the Gragas, and Direwolves not going to be able to get anything out of that.
Syndra also coming down means there was a potential for them to keep looking, but they don't feel confident enough. Gragas does have a wave clear, so there's no siege to come out of this. Ultimately, just a kill going to Rampage. They'll be happy with it, but it doesn't mean that they win a game as a result. They just get a slight gold edge on the Tussle.
But Shernfire is forced to flash away again in the bottom lane as Rampage still stick around. Rampage have been the proactive team in this game, and it's benefited them as they're now 1,500 gold ahead of the Direwolves.
Yeah, and the gold's incidental, just slight farm edge, mostly through the jungle position. You'll have to imagine that's where the lead goes, but we get to watch this again in the bottom lane, and it's really good target selection out of Tussle, straight towards Destiny, knowing that last time I tried this, King just dashed away. Well, King used his dash, but Tussle ignored it. Now he doesn't have it available, no chance of going back aggressively, and they save their summoner spells for when Chippies comes in.
So most of the gold lead right now for Rampage should be sitting on Tussle. He's picked up 2 kills for himself. Well, 700 gold ahead of Shernfire earlier. Now should be about 1,000.
Yeah, roughly 1,000 gold exactly. Well done.
And we already talked about how, you know, Evie's stepping up. Syndra stepping up as well. The bottom lane for Rampage have been doing fantastic. But once again, you have to remember that this is built around Tussle, who is the playmaker for Rampage. You can see Fantix as well as Remune just fighting in the mid lane. Nothing too much happening.
That was actually a win, forcing the Hex Drinker proc out of him, so he will have to go to base. But, you know, he's got an Ivern on his team, so red buff will be there. Fantix has health regeneration, so that's why ultimately it's incidental. But we do still look towards this Lee Sin. He's now pressuring the middle lane after the damage was done to the tower. And
the bottom lane is now being pressured as well by Rampage. Shernfire trying to move up into the mid lane, just help out Fantix a little bit. Who's continuing to try and sidestep as many of the Syndra Qs as possible. Tussle moving down into the bottom lane again. No wards this time to spot him out. We'll find Shernfire though, going for a fight. Daisy gets caught up as well. Shernfire kicked it into the team, but Syndra's there. First kill picked up by Tussle. Fantix is trying to return one for himself. Gets the shutdown with the ignite that was ticking. Forces the flash out of Syndra, who's trying to run away through these knives, but he says, catch these hands, buddies, I'll chase you down. King picks up a kill as well, gets a double. That's 4 kills picked up by the Direwolves.
And just like that, the Direwolves collapse, find themselves with 4 big kills, gives themselves ultimately the gold lead from this, and that's what you want to see from this team. Yes, it hasn't been proactive, but guess what? They play slow, they scale up, they get items, and no one pressures them well enough to put them in a bad predicament. And Fantic's now starting to show up to play after he gets his items. King gets Blade of the Ruined King, and suddenly a double kill comes out. This is what you expect from this team, but Rampage playing it a little bit too slow, too individual, and not enough as a team, honestly, as we get to see where the double breaks out. This is Dara mispositioning, I'm going to say quite severely, trying to 1v1 Yutori, non-existent for the first part of this fight. Just has to try his best to consolidate, find a kill. That's Rampage honestly reacting in a greedy way.
Target priority off as well for Rampage. They're Dara trying to go for the support, Yutori trying to go for the 80 carry, whereas Direwolves are all in sync. And this is completely left field here, Rusty, because we thought that Direwolves, they were the team that were going to have the weak bottom lane going into this match, because King and Destiny have been underperforming, whereas Yutori and Dara have looked fantastic. But this time around, King has really stepped up to the plate, and this is what we typically expect from him.
And we said at the top of the cast as well, you know, AD carry is the most important role, it seems to be, for all of the teams within this group. Well, Yutori not having the best performance in this one, mostly because King is now playing better, and suddenly the Direwolves look better as a team. Tussle still playing well. Shernfire is doing his part, you know, trying to negate all of the pressure that the Lee Sin's putting out. 3-1 should be able to actually help play a big part in carrying his team, but starting to near further and further towards that mid-game Lee Sin point where he can still make plays and can still do damage, but he's also entirely killable, because if he wants to, he's a fragile champion.
And most of the goalie right now for the Direwolves is in the bottom lane.
Destiny's
just dead. Syndra picks up a nice and easy kill. Standing United will come through as well. Rampage looking to go for a full force fight, but a big knockback coming out from Chippies will send the rest of Rampage into the team. King is in the back lines, looking to try and shift on in, gets on top of Heavy, slows him down, forces a flash out of the Ninja himself. Direwolves will lose their support, but still pushing for turret.
Yeah, they still have the numbers advantage. They've got the pressure on this mid lane turret, and looking aggressive.
Heavy wants to go back to base. Not there, buddy. You're going to take so much damage for that. Tussle will join the rest of his team. Yutori does get slowed down, and Direwolves will break a turret against Rampage.
And they break the turret with Rampage watching them. Evie wanted to go back to base, but he was a bit too shallow with his recall position. Chippy spots him and gives him the big old belly bop, prevent him from actually going in. This is how it breaks out. Destiny just outright dead. Chippy misses his body slam, I believe, and now just has to walk at them. But the explosive cask well and truly makes up for that. Everything Rampage uses here is in a form of disengage. Nothing going forward. No chance of actually winning a fight or taking any of the health values. Hello.
Hello. Ramirez being able to pick up a kill on towards King. Destiny trying to pick one up back as Shernfire will take that kill. Guton on towards the Karma. Ignite is sticking, but Fantix wants some more. Destiny, will he fall? Doesn't look like it, as Fantix goes on a killing spree to take down Dara. They still want Ivy. He's trying to run away. Shernfire not quite able to snare him up. But still, interesting trades while we're in that replay.
Yeah, King actually goes down throughout the replay. Not exactly the position Ezra wants to find himself in. That was also both summoners used trying to survive, but this is one of those just Syndra things moments you would have to imagine.
Oh no, King!
He didn't mean to do that. He
Twice.
Totally didn't. Syndra had ultimate. I guess he didn't expect the ultimate to be up and ready, but that's what you get for a cooldown reduction stacking mid lane champion. Thankfully for Direwolves, Fantix shows up to play.
Oh, King right-clicking the snare target by Ivan. So that was Shernfire's fault, obviously.
He may have wanted to just come in and try and get the cheeky pot shot, but that's again the assumption that there was no ultimate there for the Syndra. I don't think he'll make that mistake again.
Didn't quite work out, but Direwolves have acquired a nice 3,000 gold lead for themselves ahead of Rampage, as they look to try and take down a Mountain Dragon as well. The first dragon was picked up by Rampage, a Cloud Dragon. Direwolves will try to make as much use of this as possible.
Yeah, absolutely right. And this is that moment now where we get to kind of explore Direwolves as a team. It's like, can they play with a gold advantage? We have not seen that from them in this tournament against the caliber of team the play-ins actually presents for them. Tussle and the side of Rampage have well and truly shown that on the back foot, they are a fantastic team at coming back into games. They find opportunities left, right, and center, and they can give it to the best teams in this group to try and actually get advantages.
So we'll have to see if they can do just that. Direwolves, although they didn't get their advantages necessarily from the laning phase, which did go slightly in Rampage's favor, this is the type of gold lead they like to work with when they're 20 minutes into a match, and this is where they start to really snowball into a victory.
Yeah, and a 1,400 gold lead as well for King on his Ezreal against Yutori Moyasi. Unfortunately, he's gone for the Mana Crystal build is going towards the Sheen, but he hasn't got it yet. So that gold advantage, a little bit lacking, not really existent just yet.
The Direwolves are going to look to continue to siege another turret. Mid lane inner is under fire as Rampage will muster as many of their forces as possible. Tussle looking to be collapsed upon by Chippies. But he does have a Syndra in his back pocket in case he gets into any trouble.
Yeah, Fantix was also chunked out a little bit running away. Will get his health back and be perfectly fine. Hard team composition to siege into, however, here. If you were Direwolves trying to siege into Rampage, they need a pick more than they need to hit him at the turret.
Syndra might actually be caught out here. Stenia is going to come through. Does have flash available. Goes over the wall. Incredibly low, but has already used her own ultimate to try and chunk out Fantix, who is at half health. Ramu will throw away Daisy, though. Takes away Shofire's toys. She'll waddle back away underneath the turret. But very close to being a pick for Direwolves. Instead, just blowing a flash from the mid laner, as well as Syndra's barrier.
And fire.
Still looking for more. Locks down Tussle, takes a little bit of damage, and tries to make friends with the Wolf Camp before moving into the bottom lane to help out Direwolves with the rest of their siege.
Yeah, also smites it to get health back, so the siege continues. They switch lanes to where there's no traps.
Jumps in on towards Daisy. He's forced to kick Shurnfire back. Will get a wild growth and has to flash away. That was a curious play from the Japanese jungler.
Taunt also under Chip. Everyone needs to calm down a little bit.
They're going in for a fight here, Rusty, as Chippy's forced to flash over the wall, down to about 1/3 of his health. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but these two teams are quite angry at one another.
They've been taking away the blue side jungle of Rampage, but they're not setting up in the best way. And I think the reason for this is because it transitioned from mid to bottom. Everyone was fighting and setting up on the top side of mid, and so there wasn't actually a lot of vision or control there. You can see the wards completely set up from Rampage. Nothing in the jungle from Direwolves. It was an opportunistic move where the bottom lane minions were set up. They looked towards the structure bottom. Makes sense because Caitlyn can't set up the traps down there. They were never going to be able to prevent that or set up more traps. Cooldowns exist in League of Legends. But consistently throughout this time, we're finding mistakes where Dara, thankfully the partner in crime of Tussle, able to flash over at the last second when it matters and save his jungler.
Essence flanks up, also going slightly to the side.
Wouldn't have killed, so it's okay. But it's just the fact that, Tussle's going for that, trying to find that opportunity that wasn't an opportunity, but making something out of nothing where Rampage, that's not their best foot forward.
And this is very different from the Rampage we've seen that took on Supermassive, that's taken on the Red Canids, and a very different Direwolves from the first two games that we've seen them play today as well.
And now we've set ourselves up into a 1-3-1. For our blue side here, Talon can split push. Ramune has no summoner spells, no barrier to keep himself alive, has only got the Zonias, but he also doesn't have teleport, doesn't have the ability to rotate around the map. Could be 4v4s that start to break out, and you would favor the team that has the Karma Ivern to protect their Ezreal. It just means that they can't siege. You look at objectives and say it's far more important.
And historically, the Direwolves are a 1-3-1 team. They haven't done it so much this split, but forever they've been the 1-3-1 team of Oceania.
Yeah, Christ knows they can, of course, if they really want to. This is what we mean when we say coming back to comfort, perhaps.
Rampage do have the tools to deal with this 1-3-1 though. They have the Shen, who go up against the Gragas. The only real question is, can the Syndra take on Talon in the side lane?
The easiest answer to this is to put a banner of command into the Gragas lane and send the Shen against the Talon. That's a simple one-item way to fix it, but it then also can be matched. Lane assignments can change constantly from the Direwolves, but it delays the state of the game for quite a while. And when you're on the back foot, it's a really simple item to pick up for yourself if you choose.
It's also a difficult item for them to pick up if they want to go for the Locket to increase the shielding they get from Lulu, especially when up against Shurnfire, who already has 3 support-based items picked up with the Athene's Redemption and Locket already complete for the Ivern. Meanwhile, we see Destiny moving towards an Ardent Sensei, I believe, as his first item of choice. Make sure he gets both Fantix as well as King nice and buffed up before they go into fights.
Yeah, always going to be available there. So now the Baron dance ensues. Direwolves, they have the inside track again, the slight edge, the slight gold lead, starting to build up and mount more and more, but they're protecting an Ezreal, they're against a Caitlyn. If you were Rampage, you say, we just hold on. Just get that 3-item Caitlyn going, perhaps a bit of armor penetration with the last Whisper, and then everybody starts to crumble.
King's Manamune has been completed. So that's upgraded into a Mirror Mana here, sitting on that Sheen, wanting to complete his Trinity Force most likely. Highly that he'll be going towards that Iceborne Gauntlet. The Direwolves, they're not grouping up in a 1-3-1 just yet, still sending 4 members into the mid lane, making sure they allow Shen to push out first.
And they don't necessarily have to send the Gragas to the side lane. As long as they're sending the Talon, he can rotate, he can control the wave against his opponents. As Direwolves, they've started it off.
Yeah, they're trying to pull a fast one here.
Blind.
There are pings coming out from Rampage, finally using the scrying orb, but it's down
health.
to 3,000 health. Tussel's going to try and get in, but he gets body popped by Chippies and knocked back, allowing Shenfire to smite away the Baron.
Great denial from Chippies. Good decision from Direwolves, just straight on the Baron. No such thing as a bait and no vision there from Rampage. So there was honestly no reason to bait whatsoever. They lock it down. Now they set themselves up for success.
So Baron buff ticking, we've got another 3 minutes of that for the Direwolves, whereas Rampage, they're going to have to sit back and relax for some time. Lots of inner turrets for the Direwolves to take. Rampage will try and take a consolation prize of the Mountain Dragons, has been spotted out. And it seems like Direwolves might want to go for a fight here. They do take it down. Surefire locks it down, predicts Tussle, jumping back to the rest of his team. King will arcade shift on in. Lee Sin's going to be taken down. Surefire gets the kill with his redemption. And now with a pick, Direwolves will continue to look to push towards the base. Syndra, top side of the map, still split pushing.
It's still a good trade if they only get the turret for a kill. They've also secured the Drake, but Direwolves, they've got the Baron buff. The Syndra has to go back to base. Someone has to help the Caitlyn defend these structures, or they're just going to start dropping down. Direwolves, they don't need to stop.
Syndra's only now recalling. She cancelled her recall to try and push the top lane outer even more.
Nice taunt.
Big taunt from Evie, locks down 3, but the Direwolves are happy to take down this turret with ease as Sven takes deep into the back lines. Yutori forced to get a standing 9 as he lives with a sliver of health, and the Direwolves will knock on towards the inhibitor, take down the first inhibitor of this match.
They're not stopping.
Locking down Evie next. Ramune trying to take down King, but ERK shifts away, pops the Zhonya's on top of a barrel. Will live to fight another game. He scatters everyone out, but King gets the kill. Direwolves, the Wolfpack are hungry as they chase down Rampage. Evie living with a little bit of health, taken down by Destiny. Tussle's trying to get the heck out of there. Double kill for King. Chippy smacks him with the King to pick up a kill, and the Direwolves will be able to pick up a game here today, Rusty.
It looks like they're going to be able to take this one out. Only Dara left alive. And out of our 0-2 teams, it seems we've found a winner.
And not quite in sync there with the Icons, but Direwolves will pick up at least a game here today against Rampage, who look fantastic until their final match today in Group A.
And honestly, when it matters most for the side of Rampage, they did not show up. You could say the opposite, however, for Direwolves, when it mattered the most from a potential position where there weren't even going to be a chance at all for the playoffs. Getting out of their group, they do find the victory. They look a lot better, and I can give you one simple reason as to why, Fish. Ivan
picks up